Hi there, I'm James Stroud, publisher of the Global Legal Insights to Fund Finance for 2023. Today, I'm joined by Wes Misson and Sam Hutchinson, both of Cadwalader and this year's contributing editors to the Pink Book. Nice to see you both.
Good to see you, James.
James, thanks for having us.
My pleasure, Wes. And if you don't mind me kicking off this Pink Book video launch with yourself, Wes, I'd be keen to hear a little bit more about your thoughts on 2023. Obviously, as we sit here in January, there's a host of macroeconomic issues that the world and the market are facing. We've seen behaviours changing already across industries. What are your thoughts for the year ahead around how the fund finance market will be holding up?
Yeah, James, it's interesting, but I think the thesis is fund finance, as it always has been, will hold up just fine. It's a new environment and a new era that we're in, but it's going to be exciting, certainly for all the practitioners out there. We've got a tougher fund financing environment generally right now, but this is not fund finance specific. It's really being driven by the regulators on the regulatory capital side, and it's affecting lending across virtually every asset class. So as I said, this is nothing specific to our market or our product. We're also in an era of unprecedented, well, at least for our market anyway, rising interest rates. It's something we haven't seen in quite some time. You got 1 month SOFR, for instance, that's up more than 400 basis points from this point last year. And so a number of folks are grappling with, spreads widening and kind of what that means for our market going forward. And then you pair this with really less robust fundraising activity. 2/3 of funds are taking more than 6 months to get to their first close right now. So that process is moving a lot slower than it has the last couple of years. And not surprisingly, the capital is really flowing to the large platforms. And so they're really getting the bulk of commitments, and that's going to continue in an environment where fundraising is going to be down. And how could it not be down when you look at really the last couple of years being record years in 2021 and 2022? I think, we've all got to be realistic that it's going to be a flat to down year, probably on the fundraising side. But still, even with all these headwinds and all these variables that are outside of all of our control, the credit performance of the product marches on. It remains pristine, and demand is very strong. And so what does this mean for all of us? I think it's going to usher in new opportunity for 2023. I think there's lots of opportunity for lender expansion in the market and structural evolution and innovation. And I think we're going to see that. And it's an exciting time to be somebody who practices fund finance. And I think, your readers are going to read a lot about this in this year's Pink Book, and it's never been more timely. So the next decade will, I think, be a different decade for fund finance, but certainly no less exciting.
Fantastic, Wes. I love the positivity and the optimism. And as you said, we face those headwinds, but when hasn't the fund finance industry faced those headwinds over the past few years? And continue to surprise us all. We've seen the growth in transactions, the emerging products onto the market to deal with what we've seen already. And to you, Sam, with that idea of growth and maturity within the industry, do you see anything new coming onto the market this year in terms of products and innovations to keep pace with what's going on at the moment?
So I think, if we look back to what we were discussing this time last year, we were looking at, similar levels of growth. We were looking at the evolution of NAV. NAV's been around for a long, long time, but I think it really started to attract a huge amount of focus post-COVID. I think as GP started to look at the real benefits of NAV facilities across all asset classes, and it was a question of how do we service demand, and we saw an awful lot of appetite for NAV in particular during the course of I think 2022, and then I think various headwinds hit our industry and sort of the wider economic backdrop that have made it a little harder, I think. I think the focus this year is absolutely going to be finding liquidity, but I think that's against a backdrop not just of an increasing amount of demand, but actually a scaling back of liquidity in certain places as a result of, the various headwinds that we've been facing, and I think continue to face in the wider sort of macroeconomic climate. But I think, for example, if you look at the subline industry, the demand is certainly going to be impacted by the slower fundraising environment. But I think, many lenders are very much focused on the implications, for example, of Bar 4 coming in and what that means for them. So some of the discussions we've been having with lenders are around how can we potentially restructure facilities so that we can get a better capital treatment for those lenders online, perhaps involving securitization technology. So I think the focus this year, and on the NAV side, for example, we're looking at potential issues arising as a result of more focus from the regulators on vehicles which are backed by LP interest, I think predominantly on the CFO side of things, but potentially that is reaching out into secondary finance transactions. So I think the focus is going to be how can we continue to make sure that there is sufficient liquidity in the market to service the demand. And that may mean, and probably will, I think, in the subline space at the very least, mean that we have to start rethinking these products to make sure that we can continue to service that demand. So I think the question on everyone's lips in 2023 is, where is the liquidity coming from, and how can we harness the liquidity that is necessary to service the demands of the GPs across all of the types of products and asset classes.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Sam. And another key term on the lips of the LPs and the GPs, certainly in 2022, was around ESG. We believe that 2023, again, will see ESG be at the forefront of people's minds. And I suppose for you, Wes, how's your role as a private practice lawyer adapting to ESG needs and ESG within fund finance?
Yeah, no, James, I think 2023 is going to be a comeback year for ESG. It's an exciting time to be part of the market. In fact, we've bulked up resources around, really having the best practitioners around, not only in fund finance, but in other types of lending products who know ESG well. The product's not going anywhere. We had 2022 was probably flat to down based on market activity we saw in fund finance. But how could it not be, right? We had record activity in 2021. On the heels of all the environmental and social driven changes through 2020. But this slowdown is different. I mean, this is not, we talked a little bit earlier about what 2023 holds in terms of, market-wide macroeconomic headwinds. This is not because of rising interest rates or, regulatory capital change per se. This is really because of, regulatory headwinds specific to ESG lending and scrutiny around greenwashing. Some of the issues that we're facing as practitioners and folks who want to do ESG facilities are, the lack of standardization. Remains a lack of clarity around how you measure meaningful outcomes in certain cases. We really still need a more uniform approach to reporting and evaluating progress. That's really top of the list. That said, we're getting there. And I think the market is slowly moving towards that standardization, and new trends are developing. And it's exciting as a practitioner to be a part of, be on the forefront of that and setting precedent going forward, because deals that are getting done today look different than deals we did 12, 18 months ago in the same space. And so that's pretty awesome to be a part of the maturation of the market as we continue its progression. And you look at, some of these issues, the SEC putting greater scrutiny on certain fund managers, this is slowing it down. But as I said, the product's not going anywhere. In fact, I think demand is going to increase. And, if we can get back to having a more favorable lending environment, take away some of these other macroeconomic issues, I think it's only going to be better. And it's going to be fun to see it develop.
That's superb. So the team have been beefing up their ESG capabilities and in readiness for 2023. Sam, we sit here in January, with 12 months ahead of us of the year. From your perspective, what are you looking out for this year as a private practice lawyer? What do you think is going to keep you at the busiest?
A word, deals, ideally. So look, I think that, one of the great things about our industry, and we've touched upon this, is that, even as a private practice lawyer, you are working with clients to develop solutions to liquidity requirements or challenges. So, and we, it's one of the most interesting things about our industry, and certainly what's kept me interested for the last 20 odd years, is that we're not just there to execute documents. We're there to work with clients to find solutions for these sorts of issues, and it's one of the reasons we're working with clients in the background to try and find a way to mitigate against the implications of the Basel IV capital treatment. Is we want to continue to find a way to service the needs of the funds industry. But I think you look at our industry, and it's a very private industry, so it takes those constant conversations to ensure that we are continuing to come up with a deal flow. I think the reality is deal flow will be hit this year, certainly on the capital call facility side of things. So how can we work together with our clients and with GPs to continue to service their needs? I think you're absolutely right. NAV is clearly going to be, one of the most prevalent products this year, and it makes sense in this environment where, there isn't as much in the way of M&A activity, and GPs are holding assets for longer. The conditions are rife for NAV to be, explosive this year, as it has been for the last couple of years, but perhaps even more so this year. So the need is going to be there. I think the question is meeting that demand with liquidity. And again, that comes down to how do we find the liquidity in the market and bring it in the most efficient way possible. So that's what we will be, spending a lot of our time looking at, I think, this year.
That's great. Finding clients solutions, keeping things moving. I think are great takeaways from that answer, Sam, and that I could apply as well to the Pink Book as well. We like to think that it's a industry leading title in terms of its thought leadership, in terms of its practical, relevant advice. And as we launch the 2023 edition, I guess for everybody watching this, it might be nice to know what's new this year. So Wes, if you don't mind, as contributing editor, just to tell the folk who are watching this what's new, I'd be most grateful.
Yeah, well, James, first of all, Sam and I couldn't be more thrilled to be the co-contributing editors this year. I mean, the Pink Book is the go-to resource in the fund finance market. I've got every edition over here on my bookshelf, and I use it often. And so what's new? We're always trying to get new content, and this year it's a fantastic slate of new additions. We've got a few new jurisdictions that are being covered, including BVI and Bermuda. We're taking even further deep dives in the NAV facilities and looking at them from different angles. We've got a piece on financing the secondary market acquisitions. There's a comparison piece around VC and PE fund financing markets. ESG, of course, which we just touched on a moment ago. And there's a primer on asset-backed leverage facilities for the first time. So I think we should all be excited that this is a really strong addition and continues to really mirror the innovation that we're seeing in our market.
Thanks, Wes. And Sam, we know that this book gets picked up Miami, London, in Asia, at every FFA event there is, and around the world by your clients and everybody else who's in the market. But as the market expands, we've seen new entrants come in. And I guess just for anybody that might not be aware of the Pink Book, I'd be grateful if you could just explain a little bit about who should pick this up and why it's a must-have on your bookshelf.
So the fund finance industry is a very different finance space to most others, in the sense that it is incredibly private, and you have to be in this market, living it and breathing it 24/7 to know which lenders are active, what type of products there are, which law firms are specialists in this area. And it's very difficult to get that information from a private market. And so I think the reason this book was received and continues to be received so well is that, one, it's a way of all of us being able to keep up with what's going on in the market and seeing what our peers are doing, what the new trends are. But I think it's incredibly valuable for those which are interested in coming into this space, because it's effectively a one-stop shop read for anyone who wants to understand what the potential issues are around fund finance and how you approach it, either from a lender or GP or law firm perspective. There isn't anything else like it in the market. And so I think that it is, it's absolutely something we get asked for every single year, and I'm always out of books quicker than I would expect. So you've done a fantastic job, James, and really well done.
Thanks, Sam. And really, from me, all that's left to say is that we appreciate your support and leading this in 2023 to both of you and the CAD team, along with all the other contributors, of course. We'll see you both in Miami. We'll see everybody in Miami. The Pink Book will be there. It will be online as well. And we look forward to the continued success of it, of course, and more widely, the fund finance industry as well. So thanks again, both of you, for joining, and hope to see you soon.
Thanks, James.
Thanks so much.
Cheers. Bye-bye.